David adjusted his tie in front of the mirror one last time. His suitcase sat by the door, neatly packed with files, suits, and everything he needed for the 2-week business trip to Dubai. He was a tall man in his late 30s, admired for his discipline and gentle spirit. His wife, Maria, a graceful woman with warm eyes, came into the room holding a cup of coffee. "You'll miss your flight if you don't leave now," she teased. David smiled, kissed her forehead, and replied, "I won't miss it. I just don't like leaving you and the kids." At the gate, his 2 children, Daniel and Lisa, hugged him tightly. "Daddy, bring us toys," Lisa said, clinging to his leg. David promised, his heart softening at her innocence. Standing a little apart was his younger brother, Samuel. His hands were tucked into his pockets, his expression unreadable. David walked over to him. "Sam, I trust you to keep an eye on things. The workers may need help, and the tenants in the back flat might come with issues. Handle them for me." Samuel forced a smile. "Of course, brother. Travel safe. Don't worry, I'll take care of things." David patted his shoulder, unaware of the storm brewing in Samuel's heart. As the car pulled out of the compound, Samuel muttered under his breath, "Always the perfect one. Always the successful one. Let's see how long that lasts." Samuel had always been the shadow in David's light. Where David excelled in school, Samuel dropped out. Where David built a career in real estate, Samuel gambled and borrowed until debts chained his neck. That evening, Samuel sat in a dimly lit bar, nursing a cheap drink. Across from him sat Collins, his longtime friend with a mischievous glint in his eyes. "You look troubled," Collins said, sipping his beer. "It's my brother," Samuel replied bitterly. "He has everything: house, family, respect. And me, I can't even pay rent." Collins leaned closer. "Then use what you have. You're his brother. People believe family. If you wanted, that house could solve your debts." Samuel frowned. "How?" "Forgery," Collins whispered. "It's easy. A lawyer I know can make it clean. You sign as David, sell to a buyer, and walk away with the money. By the time he's back, the house is gone. Simple." Samuel's heart pounded. "That's dangerous." "It's my brother's home." Collins laughed. "And has your brother ever lifted you out of poverty? Does he share his wealth? You've been eating crumbs while he dines like a king." The words sank deep. Samuel gripped his glass tightly. "Maybe you're right. Maybe it's time David learned life isn't perfect." That night, Samuel couldn't sleep. The devil of envy whispered, louder than his conscience. 3 days later, Samuel walked into a lawyer's office with Collins by his side. The lawyer, a crooked man named Mr. Bello, barely looked up from his papers. "You want the house transferred?" Bello asked, adjusting his glasses. "Yes," Samuel said firmly. "My brother gave me permission. He's abroad. Do you have his signature?" Bello asked. Samuel slid a forged paper across the desk. Bello studied it, then smirked. "Convincing enough. For the right fee, we can make this official." Within days, Samuel found a desperate buyer, Mr. Adeyemi, a wealthy businessman relocating his family. The deal was swift. By the time the sun set, documents were signed, money was transferred, and Samuel's bank account swelled with more money than he had ever seen. Back at the house, Maria noticed strangers walking around, pointing at the garden and rooms. Confused, she confronted Samuel. "Sam, what's happening? Who are these people?" "They are the new owners," Samuel replied coldly. Maria's jaw dropped. "What do you mean, new owners? This is David's house." "Not anymore," Samuel sneered. "I sold it. Pack your things." Tears filled Maria's eyes. "You betrayed your own brother." Samuel's voice was sharp. I did what I had to. He doesn't need this house as much as I do. And when he returns, it'll be too late. Maria grabbed her children, trembling. She knew the storm awaiting David's return. 2 weeks later, David arrived at the airport, smiling at the thought of surprising his family. He had bought gifts, gold bangles for Maria, toys for the kids, and perfumes for everyone. But his joy crumbled when he turned into his street and saw movers carrying boxes out of his gate. Strangers were arranging furniture in the compound. Confused, David rushed forward. "Excuse me, what are you doing in my house?" One of the men looked at him casually. "This is Mr. Adeyemi's house now." "Who are you?" "I'm David, the owner." David shouted. Mr. Adeyemi himself appeared, holding legal papers. "No, sir. I purchased this house from your brother. Here are the documents." David's eyes widened as he scanned the papers. The signature looked like his, but he knew he never signed them. Behind him, Maria was sobbing with the children by her side. "David," she cried, "Samuel sold the house. He said you gave him permission." David's knees buckled. He dropped the suitcase, tears stinging his eyes. "My own brother?" His voice broke. David stormed out of Mr. Adeyemi's presence and rushed straight to Samuel's apartment. His chest was heaving, his eyes red from suppressed tears. Maria followed behind with the children, trying to calm him. When Samuel opened the door, he was startled by David's sudden presence. "Brother, you're back earlier than expected," he said with a sly smile. David shoved him backward into the living room. "What did you do, Samuel?" His voice thundered through the walls. Samuel tried to remain calm, sitting down on a ragged chair. "Relax, David. I did what was necessary. That house, it's just a building. You'll get another." David's fist slammed against the table, making cups rattle. "Just a building. That house was my sweat, my sacrifice, my family's shelter. You forged my signature, you snake." Maria's tears flowed as she held the children close. "Samuel, how could you betray your own brother? We trusted you." Samuel smirked, though his eyes betrayed a flicker of guilt. "Trust doesn't pay debts, Maria. I was drowning. I found a way out. If David were truly a loving brother, he would have given me money long ago." David's voice cracked. "So this is about envy? Because I worked hard while you wasted your life." Samuel stood up abruptly. "Don't act like you're perfect. You've always looked down on me. Now for once, I'm the one with power." David pointed at him, trembling. "You'll regret this, Samuel. Mark my words, the law will find you out." But Samuel only laughed bitterly. "Good luck proving it. The documents are clean, and the house is gone." David walked out, his soul torn between anger and heartbreak. For the first time in his life, he realized his biggest enemy wasn't a stranger, it was his own blood. Within days, David filed a case in court. He hired Barrister Johnson, a sharp lawyer known for dismantling fraud cases. Maria supported him, though the stress weighed heavily on her. They moved into a small rented flat, the children constantly asking, "Daddy, when will we go back home?" On the first day of trial, the courtroom was packed. Samuel sat confidently beside his lawyer, Mr. Akand, who argued, "My client acted with full authorization. His brother entrusted him with power over the property." David rose to speak, his voice steady though his heart ached. "My lord, I never gave my brother permission. That signature is not mine. I built that house with every drop of sweat. He betrayed my trust." Gasps filled the room. Samuel leaned forward, whispering to his lawyer, "Keep him talking. He has no evidence." The judge ordered handwriting experts to examine the signature, but Samuel's forgery was skillful. Weeks dragged by, with adjournments and delays. David's savings dwindled, and Maria sometimes cried at night. One evening she told him, "David, maybe we should let it go. Start afresh." David shook his head, determination burning in his eyes. "No, Maria. This isn't just about a house. It's about truth. If Samuel wins, he wins against honesty itself. I cannot allow that." Samuel's arrogance grew as the case lingered. He bought flashy clothes, throwing parties with the money he had stolen. But whispers in the community began to rise. People pointed fingers. He betrayed his brother. One night, Collins confronted him after a drinking spree. "Sam, you're living too loudly. Keep quiet before someone starts digging." Samuel waved him off. "Relax. Nobody will catch us." But fate had other plans. Collins was arrested in a separate fraud scheme involving fake land sales. To reduce his sentence, he confessed everything to the police, including Samuel's forged deal. In court, Collins appeared as a witness. The entire courtroom fell silent as he spoke. "I was there. Samuel forged the documents. He bragged that his brother would never recover. I even introduced him to the lawyer who made it happen." The judge leaned forward, eyes narrowing. "Are you saying under oath that the defendant knowingly forged his brother's signature?" "Yes, my lord," Collins said firmly. Samuel's face turned pale. He banged the table. "Lies. He's trying to save himself." But the damage was done. The courtroom erupted in murmurs. For the first time, Samuel's confidence cracked. Weeks later, the court delivered its verdict. The judge's voice echoed through the packed hall. "This court finds the defendant, Samuel, guilty of forgery, fraud, and illegal property transfer. The sale is hereby nullified. The house shall be returned to its rightful owner, Mr. David. The defendant is sentenced to 8 years imprisonment with hard labor." Maria clutched David's arm as tears streamed down her face. The children cheered innocently, not fully grasping the gravity of the day. Samuel was led away in handcuffs, his eyes bloodshot with rage. He turned back one last time. "David, you're still my brother. How could you let them do this to me?" David's heart twisted, but his voice was cold. "Brotherhood ends where betrayal begins. You sold more than my house, Samuel. You sold my trust." Samuel was dragged out, his screams fading down the corridor. David hugged Maria tightly. "We have our home back, but at what cost? My own brother is lost." Weeks later, David and his family returned to their home. The once stolen house now felt like a sanctuary restored. Neighbors gathered to welcome them, praising David's perseverance. Maria touched the walls with trembling hands. "We're back," she whispered, her eyes shining with relief. David gathered the children in the living room. "This house is not just bricks. It is a testimony. Never let anyone tell you to give up on what is right." At night, David walked through the empty rooms, memories flooding back. He remembered the day he bought the land, the nights he stayed awake planning, and the years of sacrifice. Now, every corner of the house whispered, "Truth triumphs." Maria joined him, holding his hand. "Do you regret fighting, David?" He shook his head slowly. "No. If I had given up, Samuel would have won, not just over me, but over honesty itself. And what example would that set for our children?" Months passed. Life slowly returned to normal, though scars remained. David sometimes visited Samuel in prison, despite Maria's disapproval. One day, Samuel sat across from him, thinner and bitter. "You came to gloat," he spat. David sighed. "No, Samuel. I came because, despite everything, you are still my brother." Samuel looked away. "I lost everything. Because of you." David's voice was steady. "No, Because of envy. You let greed destroy you. You sold a house, but you also sold your soul. I pray prison teaches you what life couldn't. As David walked out of the prison, sunlight fell on his face. He whispered, "This house, this family, this life, it all survives because truth stands taller than lies." Back home, Maria greeted him with a smile. The children played in the compound, laughter filling the air. David lifted his eyes to the sky. "Father," he prayed softly, "thank you for restoring what was stolen. May we never forget the lesson, that trust is more precious than gold, and betrayal cuts deeper than any wound. But in the end, truth will always return home." And with that, David knew his story was not just about loss, but about victory, the victory of integrity over deceit, and the resilience of family over betrayal.